Welcome, everyone. This is a special deep dive for you, the Securado LLC sales team in Oman. We're going to cut straight to something absolutely vital for your work.
That's right. We're focusing on anti-bribery practices and really maintaining the highest ethical standards in all your sales activities.
Securado has such a strong commitment to ethics and compliance, and honestly, it's fundamental. It's how we build trust and, long-term success here in Oman.
Exactly. It's not just a policy on paper.
Sure.
It's genuinely core to how we operate. Think of it as our promise, really.
So today, we'll explore what bribery and corruption actually mean in a practical sense for you as sales professionals. We'll be referencing Securado's own policies, naturally.
And also looking at international standards like ISO 37001. It gives a good wider context.
Definitely. And we'll dig into why this matters so much for Securado's reputation, the legal side of things in Oman, and, well, the overall sustainability of our business.
They're all connected, aren't they? Reputation, legality, doing good business long term.
Okay, so let's maybe start with the basics. Definitions. Bribery, corruption, what are we actually talking about day to day?
Okay, so bribery, simply put, is offering, giving, receiving, or even just asking for something of value to influence a decision or an action unfairly.
So trying to get an edge improperly.
Precisely. And corruption, that's a bit broader. It's the abuse of entrusted power, could be public or private power for private gain. Bribery is, well, often a tool for corruption.
And it's not always about huge sums of cash, is it?
Not at all. That's a key point. It can be gifts, favors, promises, entertainment, things that might seem less obvious sometimes.
Which brings us to Securado's own policies. These are crucial.
Absolutely essential. Securado has specific, detailed company policies outlining exactly what conduct is prohibited regarding bribery and corruption. You really need to know these inside out. They're our internal rulebook.
And they're tailored for how we operate.
Yes,
Cool.
exactly. And alongside our rules, we also look outward to international standards.
Like the ISO 37001 you mentioned.
ISO 3701 provides a sort of globally recognized framework for anti-bribery management systems. Securado, adhering to this, it shows our commitment on a global level.
Right. And it gives us best practices, helps make sure our own controls are strong.
Exactly. It helps keep us sharp.
Okay, let's try and make this really concrete. Think about some scenarios, things that might actually come up here in Oman.
Good idea.
Imagine, say, a potential client offers you a pretty significant personal gift, maybe an expensive watch, something well beyond a simple thank you. And it's hinted that it's, in exchange for prioritizing their bid on a Securado contract.
Okay, yeah. That should immediately set off alarm bells.
Yeah.
Red flag right there.
Why specifically?
Well, both Securado policy and anti-bribery principles are clear.
Mhm.
The intent behind that gift is likely to improperly influence a business decision. That's the core issue.
And even just accepting it could be a problem.
Oh, definitely. Accepting it, even if you don't actually change the outcome, can land you and the company in serious trouble. It creates the appearance of impropriety, at the very least.
Okay, here's another one. Maybe feels a bit more model. Gray area. You're building rapport with the client, things are going well, and they mention, maybe casually, that their kid has a big wedding coming up. And they ask if Securado might be able to, make a contribution, implying it would really cement the relationship, maybe help things along with the contract you're discussing.
Right, that's trickier, isn't it? Because relationship building is part of sales.
Exactly.
But here's the thing. Securado might support legitimate local events or charities under very specific, transparent guidelines with proper approvals. But a direct contribution to a client's personal event, especially with that unspoken link to a contract decision, that's highly problematic.
It could easily be seen as trying to buy influence.
Precisely. You have to ask, what's the real purpose here? Could anyone perceive this as an attempt to gain an unfair advantage? If the answer is maybe, or yes, then you need to steer clear and follow policy.
Okay, one more. This one can feel like navigating a minefield sometimes. A local official suggests that a small facilitation fee, an unofficial payment, would really speed up a necessary permit or approval Securado needs.
The facilitation payment trap. Yes, this comes up globally.
What's the stance there? Because sometimes it feels like just the way things are done.
Under most serious anti-bribery laws, including Oman's, and definitely under Securado's policies and ISO 37001, those so-called facilitation fees are generally considered bribes, period.
Even if they're small and seem necessary to move forward.
Yes, the intention is still to improperly influence an official action, to get faster or preferential treatment outside the proper channels. It doesn't matter if it's $50 or $50,000, the principle is the same. Securado has ethical ways to deal with official processes.
So if you encounter that,
You don't pay it. You follow the proper procedures, and importantly, you report the request internally, immediately.
okay, that's very fair. Let's shift focus slightly. We've talked about what it is, but why does sticking to these anti-bribery rules matter so intensely for Securado and for everyone on the sales team personally here in Oman?
Well, the consequences of getting it wrong are, frankly, huge. Let's start with reputation.
Right.
Securado has worked incredibly hard to build trust and credibility in the Omani market. Bribery or corruption, even a hint of it, can just shatter that trust overnight.
And that impacts everything, future business, partnerships.
Everything. The damage to our brand, to the relationships you've personally built, it can be devastating and long-lasting.
And it's not just about perception, is it? There are teeth to the laws here.
Oh, absolutely. Omani law has robust regulations against bribery and corruption, and the penalties are severe. We're talking significant fines, potential jail time for individuals involved.
Wow, jail time.
Yes. And for the company, massive fines, potentially being barred from government contracts, just enormous financial and operational impact. So understanding and following Omani law isn't optional, it's critical.
Beyond the legal hammer and the reputational risk, there's also just the right thing to do, isn't there? The ethical dimension.
Fundamentally, yes. This goes to the core of how Securado chooses to operate. Ethical conduct isn't just a compliance exercise, it's a value. We believe in winning business fairly through the quality of our work, our service, our integrity.
Sustainable business.
Exactly. Sustainable success is built on that foundation of integrity and fair dealing, not on cutting corners or, unethical shortcuts. It's about building a business we can all be genuinely proud of.
Okay, so given all that, let's get really practical. What are the key best sales practices at Securado that help everyone stay compliant and ethical day in, day out?
Well, the starting point is always Securado's own company policies. They lay out clear guidelines on acceptable and unacceptable practices.
Things everyone should reread regularly.
Definitely. They cover everything from negotiations, client meetings, right through to gifts, hospitality, promotional expenses, the lot. Knowing these policies is non-negotiable, and your manager is always there to help clarify anything.
Let's zoom in on gifts and hospitality, because that's often where lines can seem blurry in sales. What's Securado's approach? What's okay? What's definitely not?
The key words are transparency and proportionality. Generally, small, reasonable tokens of appreciation, think maybe a Securado branded pen, a notebook, something like that which align with local business customs, might be okay.
Low value, clearly branded.
Yes, but any gift of significant personal value or cash or anything that could even look like it's creating an obligation on the recipient's part, absolutely forbidden.
And hospitality, taking clients out.
Similar principle. It should be reasonable, appropriate for the business context, not excessive. A modest business lunch to discuss a project, probably fine. Lavish weekend trips, almost certainly not. The key is it shouldn't look like you're trying to improperly influence them with excessive generosity.
And
Crucially, everything must be recorded. Accurately, transparently, following the company procedures for logging gifts and hospitality.
that documentation piece sounds critical. It's not just what you do, but proving you did it right.
Precisely. Transparency through documentation is vital. It protects you, it protects the company. Be open about the purpose of any interaction, any value exchange. Document gifts given, hospitality provided, promotional costs. Follow the procedure. If it's not documented properly, it immediately raises questions.
And what if someone's just unsure? They get an invitation or think about giving a gift and something feels a bit off, but they can't quite put their finger on it.
The rule is simple. When in doubt, ask. Don't guess. Don't hope it's okay.
Who do they ask?
Your first stop should always be your direct manager. They know the context of your work. Additionally, Securado has a dedicated compliance team. Their job is to provide guidance on these things. Reach out to them.
It's better to ask beforehand.
Always. Far, far better to ask a question up front than to make a mistake, even unintentionally. There's absolutely no downside to seeking clarification. In fact, it's encouraged. It shows you're taking compliance seriously.
Okay, let's really put this into practice with a specific scenario. Imagine you're working on a big proposal for a major client here in Oman. Crucial deal. During a one-on-one meeting, the client subtly, or maybe not so subtly, suggests that if Securado wins the contract, they'll personally make sure you receive a very nice thank you. Maybe it's hinted to be a valuable watch or even a significant cash bonus paid directly to you off the books.
Okay, classic potential bribe situation.
What's the immediate correct response right there in the moment, based on Securado policy and ethics?
The immediate response has to be a polite but absolutely firm no. You decline the offer clearly and professionally.
How would you phrase that, maybe?
Something like, thank you for the thought, but Securado operates under strict ethical guidelines, and accepting personal benefits related to business decisions is against our company policy and potentially Omani law. Our proposal will be judged on its merits. You state the boundary clearly. You represent Securado's integrity.
So decline clearly. Reference policy and ethics. And it doesn't end there, does it? What happens after you decline?
No, declining is just step one. Step two is just as critical.
Yeah.
You must report the incident immediately.
To whom?
To your direct manager and also to the compliance department. You need to provide all the details. Who said what, when, where, the context. Full transparency internally.
Why is that reporting step so important? You already said no.
Because it allows Securado to understand the risks we're facing, to potentially take action regarding the client relationship if necessary, to reinforce our ethical stance, and maybe spot patterns. Your report is a vital piece of intelligence for maintaining our ethical culture and protecting the company.
Got it. So the big lesson from that scenario is recognize the red flag, know how to say no appropriately, and crucially, understand your absolute obligation to report it internally. Prioritize ethics, even under pressure.
Exactly right. And remember, upholding these principles isn't just about protecting Securado. It's about protecting your own professional reputation and your long-term career prospects. Integrity matters personally, too.
Okay, now let's shift gears slightly. We want everyone listening to do a bit of personal reflection. Think back over your recent client interactions. Have there been any situations, maybe even small ones, that made you pause? A gift, an invitation, a request that felt, maybe, borderline? Did you think through the ethical side?
This kind of regular self-check is really healthy. It keeps ethical awareness front and center in our minds, doesn't it? It helps embed it as a habit.
And another question for reflection. How well do you really feel you understand Securado's specific policies on anti-bribery, gifts, hospitality? Do you know exactly where to find the latest versions?
If there are any gray areas for you, any uncertainties, now's the time to acknowledge that and know where to go for answers. Your manager, the compliance team, resources.
Don't just assume you know, make sure.
Precisely. And finally, think proactively. What concrete steps can you take in your daily routine, your interactions, to actively ensure you're always operating at the highest ethical standard? Fully compliant with Omani law, fully compliant with Securado policy.
Maybe it's about being more diligent with documentation or preparing how you'd respond to tricky situations before they happen.
Could be. It's about consciously integrating these principles into how you work every single day.
Okay, great points. So just to quickly recap the ground we've covered in this deep dive.
We've defined bribery and corruption in practical terms. We've really emphasized Securado's absolute commitment to ethical conduct, pointing to our specific policies.
We've highlighted the serious legal risks here in Oman if things go wrong and underlined the fundamental ethical reasons driving our approach. It's just how we do business.
And we've stressed adhering to best sales practices, especially around managing client relationships, gifts, hospitality, remembering transparency, documentation, and seeking guidance.
The bottom line is, Securado places the highest possible value on integrity and ethical sales conduct in everything we do here in Oman. Your individual commitment to that is absolutely crucial.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you all for taking the time for this really important discussion. Your dedication to these principles, it's what underpins Securado's success and our reputation in Oman. It also reflects on your own professionalism.
And please, please remember, the resources are there. Reporting mechanisms, compliance team, your managers. If you ever have questions or concerns about compliance or ethics, don't hesitate. Reach out, ask the question.
That's what those resources are for. Let's keep fostering this culture of compliance, of open communication, of doing the right thing together.
So here's a final thought to leave you with today. Consider how consistently upholding these high ethical standards doesn't just shield Securado from risk. It actively builds your personal professional reputation and strengthens your long-term sustainable relationships right here in the Omani business community.
Your integrity truly is one of your most valuable professional assets. Protect it.